Norman, you and Monkey got me all freaking fired up today. All fired up, okay? So,
Yes.
on your show earlier today with you and Monkey, there are two topics. Um, Monkey was just all out, like balls to the wall on the fact that, we want to have America be the ones to actually end this thing and take it out. And I love that. Also, there was someone, I forgive me, I don't remember. It was like, I'm Team Israel, man. Just set them, unleash them, set them out, let them go. So it got me thinking, and this is, I recall a few days ago, Rubio had given a speech, and I think he spent anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes laying down so many facts on the terrorist attacks that have come from the left, not only within the US, but also that were taking part outside of the US. And it was beautiful. I mean, he just nailed it, fact after fact after fact, and just laid it down. And so I'm with Monkey on the fact that I want to finish this as an American. I want us to be the ones who finish it. But I'm also very much interested in unleashing Israel. And after seeing how Rubio mastered that conversation and mastered that speech, my suggestion is that Netanyahu, or someone else take the Israeli side and go through the history the same way Rubio did. Lay down the facts, lay down the 6-Day War, lay it all down, and then say, this is why we are going to war.
Do you
I
think
think it
that?
would be powerful. I think
Do you
laying down the facts is important.
Hmm. Do you think the Americans? I mean, you guys. I'm just asking. I don't know. Okay, so I want Americans here to share. You could respond to this, because the argument constantly to the Americans is like these motherfuckers are getting nukes. We need to stop them from getting nukes, right? Eh, there's no, like, I don't see that heavy of a push of these people are our enemies and they have killed Americans and we need to stop them. Do you think, it's more of a warning about what could happen in the future rather than a explanation of the things that have already happened? I mean, maybe I'm missing it. Maybe it's my ignorance that you guys could correct me. um I feel like that explanation is missing. It's like, oh, these people could get a nuke, we have to stop them from getting a nuke, which is important to say that. I mean, it's true, but I feel like a lot of Americans don't know much about what they have done already, and how ridiculous it is that the Islamic Republic has gotten away with being the most aggressive enemy of the of United States without much consequences, without actually without the United States ending them. But again, I mean, I'm not an American, and I would love to know if you guys think that that line of argument would even work, or would it backfire. So please explain that to me. Oh, I see already we have a whole bunch of tools, but Sherry, you go first because you brought this up.
No, I think you're right. In the fact that, do we know if Americans are going to absorb this? Do we understand if they're going to? But if we neglect to, you know, go ahead and lay this stuff out, um, for instance, Monkey just put in the chat, Beirut, you know, well, Yemen, we've had so many attacks done on the U.S. that the U.S. is willing to, Rubio did it, came out and just laid it all down. Could you imagine if an Israeli diplomat or someone in charge laid down all all of the terrorist attacks that has happened to them, to them in their own country, let alone abroad, and made the same case. I don't care if you have to spend 10, 12 minutes explaining it, lay it down, lay it down. Give us the facts. Tell us how many terrorist attacks Israel has had to deal with, and then say, we're done. We've dealt with this since our inception, and we're done. We're done trying to be kind. We're done trying to be diplomatic about this. It is time. Take the freaking gloves off and go for it. And so I agree with when Monkey says, I want to do it myself. I want partners in it, but I also feel as if the Israelis should have an opportunity. I wish, not an opportunity, they have the opportunity. I want the Israeli government to come out and lay it down, lay it all damn down, the same way Rubio did. Tell us how many people died. Tell us how many terrorist attacks they had. Tell us how many invasions they had. I want it done.
Uh, okay, thank you. Let's go to Monkey next.
Okay, I have 3 points. Point number one, and most important, I agree with everything Sherry just said. Point number two is an important point. People are saying, why aren't we unleashing Israel? I believe, and I have said this before, Israel is an ace in freedom's pocket. Freedom has an ace in its pocket, and it's Israel. Why aren't you letting Israel cut loose? Because when they do, the heads will roll. I believe it is within their intelligence that they know how to make that bingo scream bingo over and over and over again. If you hit some of these targets, the rest of them will change how they are operating, and they will be a lot harder to hit. All right, this will end. People that think this will never end, that yes, it will end. There's no use in demoralizing us. All right, this will end. And the thing that ends it is men of action. And men of action in Israel and men of action in the IDF probably have this targeting information. We can't use it now. If you hit these heads, the other heads will be wary. What you have to do when you do a decapitation strike and let Israel loose is kill all the heads. So that's what must be done. All right. These people are the people, the servicemen are the one that are going to do the job. All right. These are the people that are going to do the job. You can't count on anything else. These are the people that are going to make the bingo sheet scream bingo. So that's when I believe Israel is an ace in freedom's pocket. I believe it has to be used as the right time. What we have over here is men. Yeah, men. I'm talking about like, what is this? Are we woke now? Yeah, men. I'm talking about men. I'm talking about the people that are going to get the job done. There may be a few women in there, by percentages, mostly men.
Okay, okay,
The people
okay.
that are going to get the job done. We don't hate women, but it's a fact.
You're,
Number three,
you're
my
getting
third point,
distracted,
and my
sir.
Yep.
most important
We
point of all this. What?
go on, go on.
Okay.
Okay, the reason that we're not using that is what you were saying about us being the ones to finish the job, and this being said, I do believe this has not been said enough. I do believe that when we're talking about our wanting to finish it, we have to talk about our cost. We have to talk about how many lives it cost us for how many years. We have to talk about what's going on in what happened in Beirut, what happened in Iraq, all the IRGC affiliated casualties. We may have to bring that to the forefront. We have to read that list. If it's 1,000 names, if it's 2,000 names, we have to start reading them over and over again, because I don't care if they give up the nuke. This is their weakness, and for us to cling to the nuclear part is our weakness, because they can give up the nuke. And if they give up the nuke, do you think we'll be better off if they stay in power but don't have a nuke? What if they give up the nuke, they give up the straight, and start making something harder to direct, biological and chemical weapons? and they have ballistic capabilities so that they can reach Europe, so that they can reach Israel, so they can reach all these places. And then you stuck your head like a fucking ostrich in this hold called they can't have a nuclear deal, and you forgot that they could be combining corona, rabies, and Ebola, and you can have the next T virus and some Resident Evil shit happening all over the world because you stuck your head in this like an ostrich in this hole called the nuclear deal. I don't give a fuck if they have a nuke or not. I want them wiped out, all of them, and I want us to do it for the cost that they did to us, not to defend all these other nations, to stand with them, because our cost is as much or more as theirs. Maybe not more, because I know Islamists kill a lot of Islamists, but we have a great cost here, and it is up to us to finish it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Next,
Minky.
Adam.
Okay. So from what I see and hear, it appears that we have an entire party that is opposed to military action. And it's so much so that they don't even care about soldiers being killed. I mean, we literally had people here celebrating the troops that were recently killed. This group, they're too hung up on Israel supposedly controlling us, Trump supposedly controlling us. They're worried about our money being wasted overseas versus keeping it here, and so on and so on. And if you watch any of the committees, you know, grilling Hexat or Kane or Rubio, they could give a rat's ass about troops dying, unless there's a political motivation for them to pretend to care. But as for troop deaths in the past, I really truly think that we have an entire party that either does not care or would prefer just to ignore that, or they want to rewrite the narrative so that they don't have to address it properly. We simply just don't have support for our military here from the left, except for, you know, like the old style Democrats like Fetterman. And we also have the issue of our younger generation, who we already know, for the most part, or I should say, many, have a difficult time literally being able to cognitively comprehend a group of people that have been killed. You know, so if they don't know these people, if they're not able to visualize these people, if they don't understand where these people were, what they were doing, they have a hard time understanding the truth. They just have they have a hard time even understanding that it happened. And we saw that with the massacre on January 8th and 9th. And it's not necessarily in that regard younger people. We saw this cognitive dissociation with people that could not comprehend the idea of numbers that high. You know, so they're not even familiar with Iran. They're not familiar with the people. They can't place names to faces. Therefore, it's like this blank slate that they just don't comprehend. And I think that the only way we're going to get any sort of support for our military, and even this, I'm not so sure would work, but we have to make it real. You know, we can't just put a picture of a troop, of a soldier up on the TV and say, wow, this troop, this member died. We have to make it real. What were they doing? You know, pictures of them in real life with their children, with their families. But even then, I'm not so sure it's going to work. So that's about all I have to say.
Thank you. Siddhartha is next to respond.
Hey, Armin, can I just clarify the question? I think you were asking about what do Americans think that a sort of an account of American victims of the Islamic regime, like would that make a difference with regards to support for military action?
So you know, I did say that, but now that you say it back to me, I have to clarify that I don't think that Americans are a monolith. I was talking about the average impact that would have. So, for example, you know, telling them in 1983, 241 servicemen were killed by Hezbollah in Beirut. In between 2003 and 2011, 603 U.S. troops were killed by the Islamic Republic proxies in Iraq. In 2023, Hamas, that was directly funded by the Islamic Republic, killed 46 Americans on October 7th. So every time people talk about October 7th, we always think Israel, 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 which is true. But there were so many other people there too, including 46 Americans, American Israelis, Americans. There, that should be mentioned. So, and now also the recent attacks as well. Like all of this list. Do you think giving people Americans this list would make them feel like, yeah, okay, yeah, there needs to be a response to this. We need to okay, I think the most important part, actually, the most important thing that you need to include in the list is the hostages of the embassy. Because that was before United States did anything. Because if you give this list, I think many Americans will be like, okay, but why are we there? This wouldn't happen if we're there. We're basically going there and causing them trouble, and they're just reacting. So I think we need to, on top of this list, there's another list that needs to demonstrate that no, they're fundamentally anti-American, and their mission is to destroy America even before they came into power, right? So we need to show that Khomeini was anti-American from the beginning, according to his books. Their entire ideology comes from Nawab Safavi, which comes from Sayyid Qutb, which is the idea that the Islamic world needs to rise up against the global power of the West and defeat them. That the very first thing that the Islamic Republic did within the first year of this revolution was to take the Americans hostage, even though the United States at that point was actively trying to figure out a way how to have a normal relationship with the mullahs. That's what they did. That they chant death to America for 47 years every day, and that they transparently say that their end goal is to destroy the United States. They transparently have been saying that. I mean, I grew up in Iran. That was part of our school curriculum, and it was on TV all the time and painted on so many walls. So, do you think that list would help Americans be more interested in ending the Islamic Republic instead of all of this, oh, they're going to get a nuke, they're going to get a nuke, they're going to get a nuke talk?
So, I mean, I would say I'm all for the list, and I think it's important. It's important to get this story out because there are a lot of people who don't really know the history. But I would say that just looking at the arguments against military action, I think that they have easy excuses for all of this. So there is like a very, very powerful narrative infrastructure um, that will counter the list. What they don't really counter, and what I think they're hiding the ball with, is the ideology. So you talked about that, like, okay, like these the founders of the Islamic Republic are drawing from an intellectual history that is inherently anti-Western, anti-American, and so it's not really so much about the American foreign policy as it is a civilizational conflict. So I think that that's the part that, like, I don't think, in my opinion, doesn't really get discussed enough. So I think both are important. I would say, like, people need to know the crimes that have been committed against Americans, and they need to be reminded. I think that there's a group of people who are very persuadable, but don't really have the history, and they're getting it from whatever, people like Johnny Harris or whatever, or the New York Times, right? Which I think is a very compromised set of sort of lies of omission. But they also need to understand the civilizational conflict, and that's also something that I think is being glossed over. And that one I think is harder to just excuse away by saying like, okay, well, what were the Marines doing in Lebanon? Like, why were they there? Oh, they're fighting Israel's wars, right? Like, of course, the Islamic regime, like when Khamenei took over and ousted a brutal dictator, whatever it is they say, right? Of course, like. They they had resentment, a massive amounts of resentment and anger towards America because of all of America's meddling, right? So they have a narrative structure which I think is quite common, like it's quite commonly understood, or I understood, misunderstood, quite commonly misunderstood. So that the counter that is for people to really understand the ideology, not through the sort of Western interpreters, but directly from Khomeini, from Khamenei, from Qutb, right? I think this is the stuff that people don't really know about, and never really gets inserted into the conversation of what are we doing there. So I guess, but I have a question regarding the to you, Armin, specifically, but also to anyone else who has some understanding of this regarding the global war on terror. So Iraq, Afghanistan. Do you think that that these conflicts put the Islamic regime in a better or worse strategic position?
Oh, I mean, don't the results speak for themselves? Worse. Haven't they been weakened every single year? I mean, look at where they are right now and where they were before. I mean, I don't even need to make an argument. The this is not about rationalism. This is empiricism. Look at where they are. I mean, what would you say to that? Like, just look at how weak the Islamic Republic is. The entire global war on the proxies of the Islamic Republic has brought us to the situation where the Islamic Republic is weaker than it has ever been. So the results are demonstrable.
So just to clarify, so you're saying like the American operations in Iraq and Afghanistan in the 2010s weakened the Islamic regime?
Yeah, not immediately, but eventually, yes. I mean, for example, Iraq, right? Do you think imagine if Saddam was still in power, okay, and we had the uprising of the Iranian people. Do you think any of this was possible right now? If Saddam was in power, Assad was also in power. Do you think all of the military operations the United States is doing against the Islamic Republic, everything that Israel is doing would have been how much more difficult all of this would have been if Saddam and Assad were still in power?
So I would say I agree with you, but I think that that's not the sort of modal Americans' position attitude towards the global war on terror, and this includes people who voted for Trump because he challenged it, right? So, so I think that this is a part of the record that needs to be set straight here. Is that like that? I think most people sort of understand it as these were failed operations that were incredibly expensive and costly, both in money and treasure and blood. And Trump highlighted this himself. He pointed this out and he challenged his own party on this particular issue. And now he's sort of like reverted to the mean, and is entering into territory. Again, I just want to repeat, this is not my opinion. Okay, I'm just saying I think that this is a sentiment that is common among the critics of this operation, of this war. And I'm saying not just of the bad faith partisan critics, but also of the just sort of the modal understanding of this among many Americans. So that's I just want to put that on the table. I don't really have a good answer for that, but I do think that the idea of sort of like categorical failure of the global war on terror is something that needs to be challenged.
So the global war on communism took 44 years, and the United States won that war, right? But I'm pretty sure that there are periods in there that if you just took a snapshot of what's happening, and look back, it didn't look as good. I'm pretty sure it didn't look like, based on how people were perceiving it, there were times that it didn't look like Americans are winning. But now that we zoom out and look back at it historically, the Soviets didn't have a chance against the Americans, right? And I think that this is what people are observing here as well. They're zooming into a short. I mean, United States won the war against Vietnam. I know so many people disagree with me on that, but they won. Communism died. Vietnam is capitalist now. Vietnam is an ally of United States. That's a win. The United States, it took them 44 years to win against global communism, and they absolutely won that. So when people talk about the global war on terror, they see setbacks as a complete defeat. But if you zoom out, many of the things that happened during this war against uh, Saddam and other ISIS and everyone else, if it didn't happen, even though it came at a high cost, if it didn't happen, we wouldn't be where we are right now. United States enemies in the Middle East are weaker than they have ever been. That being said, I do agree that there are many mistakes there were many mistakes, right? Things could have been done better. One of the biggest mistakes was de-Baathification of Iraq, which caused a lot more chaos than it needed, right? But overall, the United States is winning.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I just think I think that that's not the sentiment, and this is what is frustrating to me, and something that we have to think about ultimately countering. And it's a longer project, right? Because there is plenty of education that is pushing in the other direction, right? That is constantly demoralizing and injecting narratives of failure. So I mean, and I think it also comes down to like, well, I personally believe, and I think that it has been proven over time that American hegemony is good for America and good for the world. Now, as you say, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. But what are the alternatives? And where have the alternatives expressed their own hegemony? What has happened there? We obviously should continue to strive to do better. But I think that these narratives of failure and demoralization are not about us doing better. They're not designed to help us do better. They're designed to undermine this very important and valuable civilizational project. And unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of signs of success there. So it is a sort of a generational challenge. We have to figure out how to counter this and how to get people better information. And I think that this group and these discussions are an important part of this process.
Oh, thank you by the way, this is a good time for me to just say, people on YouTube, you could join this discussion group by scanning the QR code in the top left corner of your screen, or just check the link in the bio section of Liberty Politics YouTube channel. Thank you for giving me that chance to say that.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.